Hello and welcome to Great American Underdog, where you can hear real underdog stories from real people who have found strength and success in their own lives in spite of the obstacles and challenges they may have faced. If you haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe for future underdog stories. And if you receive a tremendous amount of value from today's episode, please like this video and share it with someone else who you feel could benefit from it. Today, I have a very special guest with me that I'm honored to share the screen with. I've been grateful enough to know him since junior high school. He is a husband, he is a licensed attorney, and he is a super lawyer in New York and New Jersey and wanted by firms across the world. It is my honor to welcome Mufy Mithaiwala. Mufi, how are you today, my man?
Good, man. How are you? Feeling great. How are
Uh,
you?
I mean, I can't be better. It's so great to see you. It's great to spend
Yeah,
some
man.
time with you. And I'm so excited because, since the last time I saw you, which was the 10-year reunion of high school, which is crazy to think about, a lot has changed for you, it sounds like. And you've definitely developed a lot of specific talents, since high school and things like that. So I'm excited to chop it up with you, learn more about what you've done in your career. But first and foremost, before we get into that and we learn more about you, I want to learn something specific about you, which is what is your favorite underdog story, whether it's fiction or nonfiction?
Um, First and foremost, thank you for having me on this podcast. It's wonderful to see you. Wonderful to see that you're doing so well. This podcast is a great hit. I'm honored to be on here. Thank you so much for having me. To answer your question, I would say one of the best underdog stories, and we'll obviously get into this even more as we go. And you probably already know the answer and where I'm coming from here. Would be the Kobe Bryant story. He's one of my biggest role models in life. I didn't achieve the basketball success that he did. But his message really translates way further than just basketball. Having that, the underdog mentality and, just being able to overcome obstacles and just take it one step at a time and be the best version of yourself that you can be, every day. Every day you can be better than yesterday. And then the underdog story of just working hard until you get to where you want to be. And whether that's, on an elite level, as a professional athlete or in your own profession or industry. You're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're an engineer, you're a salesman, you're a paralegal, anything, whatever you want to be and whatever you are doing, achieving the success, no matter the obstacles. And, obviously a lot of us know that Kobe Bryant didn't really have a lot of friends. He grew up in Italy. His dad was in the NBA, but he wasn't like the LeBron James of everything. His dad was just a normal guy in the NBA. Back then, professional athletes were glorified like they are now. Um, and he, came in high school, went to Italy, came back, and just fought his way to now being in a conversation of the greatest of all time to ever do it in the history of that sport. Um, and he just took it one step at a time. And when you look at the inception and you look at the completion, you look at that entire track record, where he was, just guy who played basketball, in Lower Marion High School. That was it. It was just another guy. And of course, he was gifted with his height. But 6'6" in the NBA is not that big of a deal. Um, it's he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the strongest, he wasn't gifted with insane jumping ability or anything. He worked the hardest. That's what he did. And then another one that comes to mind is The Rock, uh, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. His struggle of having just $7 in his pocket, and I think it was either mid or late 20s, and going to be one of the biggest blockbuster movie stars. You can hate him, you can like him, whatever it is, whatever your opinion is. He went for, I think it was, he was wrestling for 20, 50, $100, putting his body through all of that because he believed in himself. He loved what he was doing, which was at that time wrestling. And then he translated that into a Hollywood career. And, now being so well known. Oh, we know who The Rock is.
What's incredible, Mufi, about both those guys is obviously number one, what they've accomplished, right? You can't argue with the success that either one of them have had in their own
Yeah.
respective careers. The one thing that I find so intriguing about both of them, as I know you do, is like you said, they weren't necessarily the most gifted. They definitely had the size and the capability, but out of the gate, they weren't necessarily the biggest, most well known. They weren't a top prospect, quote unquote, in either of their respective fields. And they kind of both transcended the sport, I feel, because they really leaned into what I call their unique ability, right?
Uh-huh.
So, they just kept going and they weren't worried about, let's say, the money element of things. They just kept working hard at it and continued to do so. And then eventually you see, like you mentioned with The Rock, where he transcended wrestling. And then he
Yeah.
moved into having such a successful Hollywood career. And he really set that bar for every other wrestler that eventually moved on into that. I think John
And
Cena.
he opened the gates for, now wrestlers to be in movie. Like, he
Mhm.
opened that gate, like you've got back in the day, well, we're talking about the 90s, we used to watch WWF and then it became WWE. You had
Yeah.
Stone Cold, you had The Undertaker, The Rock, you had Triple H, you had,
Triple H.
big personality, with big personalities comes, big egos, but managing all of that and being the one who went into Hollywood and opened that gate. Now you have John Cena in movies. Now, like that entire lane has shifted. And I
Yeah.
have to mention one thing. I don't mean to
Sure.
interrupt you, but one thing one of the greatest underdog stories that I personally have come to realize, since we were speaking of Hollywood, I'm going to go into the Bollywood aspect. There's
Sure.
one
Please.
guy, I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Shah Rukh Khan. So Shah Rukh Khan is one of the biggest Bollywood movie stars.
I wrote that down.
And he is top 5, if not more, highest paid movie star in the world.
Wow.
Um, Shah Rukh Khan. Google him, search him up. His
Will
underdog
do.
story is insane. He was just a boy who grew up in New Delhi and just believed in himself that he was gonna make it. He was gonna, make it in the industry of acting in Bollywood. And he
Right.
took Bollywood to an insane length. Just like when I say Bollywood, you understand, okay, Indian movie. You
Yeah.
understand what that is. You might not have watched any of them, but
Right.
he really opened that gate. You know, he opened that gate for a Bollywood actor to be into Hollywood. And then, having the night shows and the talk shows and being on guests. He was a commencement speaker at Yale
Wow.
a few years ago. And when you go to India, if you have the pleasure of going to India once,
Would
and
love
you
to do
go
that.
and you look at what this man came from and who he is now, it really humbles you. And like you figure out that, working hard is just, it's easy to say. Everyone wants, like Kevin Hart says all the time, everybody wants to be famous, but nobody wants to put the work in,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody want
Yeah.
to be famous, nobody want to put the work in.
Tons of people I talk to want to start a podcast channel and then they don't, or like, just the idea of it. They like the idea, but then they actually don't lean into it and go for it. Right. And when you see somebody like you and I experience a lot of the same challenges when we were younger, we'll get into that later. But um, when you see somebody like Sharf Khan, is that how you say his name?
Shah Rukh.
Shah Rukh Khan. So somebody like that, when you see where they came from and where they ended up, not only does it humble you, but it also for you and I think our personality types, we see like, wow, if he can do that, what's possible in my life, right?
Right.
And when we end up a lot of times putting this ceiling on ourselves and treating certain people like there's these superhumans that did something extraordinary that we'll never be able to do. So first thing is that mindset of believing you're capable. And when you see people like that, The Rock, Kobe, who were the underdogs in their own lives, it's truly special. And it should, in my opinion, really open your eyes to your own possibilities in your own life. You agree?
I absolutely agree. And the key word there is, I think, human. Everyone is just a human, right? Like this is not a machine that was built to dominate this or anything like that. They're all human. they just understood an element of whatever they were doing or believing in it so much to overcome obstacles, no matter what. You know, you're sick. Kobe Bryant was playing basketball with 102-degree fever. Why?
Right.
Because he loved what he did. And if one day he didn't get to where he wanted to be, his fear was someone was getting better while he was resting. And one of
Right.
his
Yeah.
famous quotes is, rest at the end, not in the middle.
Sure. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And it's crazy too, Mufi, because it's like people don't realize that they can do the same thing. And that's part of the reason I have this channel, is to show them that, hey, it's just tons of different people just like you and I, who have their own struggles, who face fear, who face challenges, who face extreme obstacles, things that maybe we don't even know about, that do overcome them and do find success. And I don't just talk about the financial success that these guys that you even mentioned have had, right? It's so much deeper than that. Think about the difference they can make in the lives of others, like you said, and we both said, is they open the door for other people to do similar things, so they become preeminent in their own way, and it's very special. So, anything else to add on that?
I would say that, I think I agree with what you're saying. One thing I would add is, yeah, obviously they're opening doors and, achieving, success to the highest limits, followed by financial success. But a lot of those people are very kind. They're very compassionate. Everybody reveres Kobe Bryant because he was an assassin, killer on the court. If you heard give him the ball and get the hell out of the way. Um, and whatever was going to happen in front of it, he was throwing rocks in an ocean because there's nothing you could have done, right? But the compassion part was what people didn't see, right? Because everybody was, oh, cool, the Mamba. The compassion part was when he was a husband, when he was, giving back to Philly and giving back to community and opening, his house to other people that were in need and let them stay. And, you know, being charitable without broadcasting that, hey, I just donated 25 million here. Just like make sure you add it to the rest. No, he just did it. He did it because he was a good person. Same thing with Shah Rukh Khan, the amount of poverty that's in India and how many people he helps. You know, um, not only are they masters of their craft, but they're also very good human beings at the end.
They're genuine humans, yeah. And I
They
feel
really-
like it's such a great point too, Mufi, because in 2024, attention is the number one commodity that everybody seeks, and they
Uh-huh.
seek it in the form of social media. And you can feel a lot of times when it's disingenuous, and those
Yeah.
people are the like exact opposite people that I want to talk to. But then you also have people that are very what's in it for them, and posting content so that way they can build themselves up. And while I understand building your own brand in the marketplace and things like that, I also do feel that you should be doing it because you want to do it, not just for the attention. And these kind of guys, literally have made it to such a level of success where, they're not doing it for attention, right? Like, they're doing it because they want to make a genuine difference in other people's lives. And that's what I'm all about as well.
Yeah. I mean, just for me, when I started school here, I moved here in I believe it was the third grade. No, I moved here. I was in the fourth grade. I was born in
When you say
India.
moved here, where did you grow up for the audience?
I was born in India, so I was there for
Oh, incredible. Didn't know that.
a little portion of my life, and I moved here in fourth grade. Um, I went to an English speaking school there. So the transition to speaking English, or understanding English, was not that difficult. But
Sure.
I came here in the fourth grade, and I wasn't able to keep up with the curriculum, and so they held me back 1 year. So now, not only was I, you know, a year older than everybody, the obstacle that I faced was how do I get to this, like, standard? How do I get to average? Because I'm not even there yet. I'm below average because I stayed back, right? And I had to go back into the third grade, finish third grade, and then go into fourth grade again, even though I did half of fourth grade already in India, then came here, finished fourth grade, and I couldn't
Right.
keep up. So they pushed me back into third grade because, the schooling is different, the
Yeah,
curriculum
different
is
curriculums, sure.
understanding is different, speaking is different, presenting, and just a lot of different challenges that, an immigrant has moving here. Um, just the school curriculum, the subjects, the focus,
So social life, not knowing anybody,
not knowing
speaking a
anybody.
different language, having to learn English more, even on a
Being
higher
the weird
level.
kid. Yeah, being the weird kid because how does I I don't know what America is. I just got here. And,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
immediately gotta go into school and, figure it out. And if you
Uh-huh.
don't figure it out, you're gonna be left behind. And I
Mhm.
was left behind. And then, kept plugging away.
Do you remember that time in your life very specifically? Because I know you were pretty young, but do you remember, like, how you felt?
So, I actually my mom told my wife that I was held back. So I don't remember like all of the
Sure,
details. The moment
sure.
she said, "Oh, you were in fourth grade, you went back to third grade because you couldn't cope up," then some memories did come to mind of like some certain challenges. I always found myself with the guidance counselor's office,
Right.
understanding strategies or homework, how to get better, how to succeed. And we grew up in East Brunswick, and and at that time East Brunswick were there were blue ribbon schools, so
Right. Yeah, you got all the help you needed.
curriculum was rough.
That
Especially
too.
for someone who hasn't been trained from kindergarten to third grade, here,
Sure.
because every grade they train you, to have success in the next grade. And then
Right.
you do grammar readings, and there's just so many different aspects and components that go into not only learning, each subject, but also having the ability to talk to a teacher.
Sure.
But the teacher has 35 kids, so 30 kids. We had massive class.
Yeah,
And
so how do you get them one-on-one long enough to actually talk about your problems and things like that? And especially as a kid, you're probably intimidated to some extent to say, like, what you're feeling and how you're feeling, so it becomes a challenge, even for me, Mufi, like, the similarity for me was playing sports, right? I was always, and you know this, you knew me, like, I was a skinny, skinny kid, and then because of my birthday, I played with the grade below me, so not only was I skinny, I played with the younger kids, and I still got ran over in football. Like, I just wasn't playing since I was young like they were. And then also I wasn't as athletically developed yet. So it was tough, man, and it definitely weighed a lot on me, like probably it did for you, even at that young age, in third grade of like, well, I can't keep up, and it's kind of hard to comprehend as a kid, right? So I totally
absolutely,
get that.
yeah. And then yeah, another component, like you're mentioning, um, athletic capability. I had nothing in common with a lot of the people here because everybody was into football and basketball or whatever it was at that time. At that time, fourth grade, I just moved because I didn't have an outlet of like, oh, what should what am I interested in right now? I just have to watch everything, figure out what I
Yeah.
like. And then at home, it's different because my parents are trying to make it here. So like dad's at work, mom's working. I have a younger brother. He's, one of my best friends.
Love that.
He's 8 years younger than me. So like I don't have I don't have anyone to go to, and then school's rough. I come home, we're just trying to make it. So, every month we can pay the rent, we can move forward.
Yep.
And try and get a green card here. Dad's holding a job down. We're living in one bedroom apartment with four people.
What when did you start, like, really, feeling that? Like, when did you start to develop the mindset and the maturity level as you got older and you grew up? Like, when did you start to really feel that environment around you? And then, obviously, that's a huge obstacle, so how did you, I guess, start to develop some courage and confidence for yourself, knowing that it was just you?
So I think I knew immediately when I think it would be fifth grade if I had to pinpoint um a time. I knew in fifth grade that we were all just trying to make it. In our own capacity. My dad was trying to hold down the job. so we can get a green card, pay the rent, while keeping all of us, happy and healthy and put food on the table. And I was trying to make it at school. My mom's working, you know, multiple jobs, just so she could contribute and we could, keep moving forward. Um, and we have a baby. It's a little boy. He's a year old or 2 years. Um, we don't really have,
And you're
many
kind of
out.
his supervisor.
Yeah. My mom was working at nights. So I used to take care of him and I used to have to get my homework done too, though. But, and then dad came home. What are we eating today? I don't know. It just, a lot of struggles. And I understood that in fifth grade. Yeah, I had to mature faster, at least in terms of understanding, our family dynamic and, how are we gonna keep moving forward. And I think that would be probably, I would say fifth grade, is when I understood that, yeah, life is tough. But
Was there a specific moment in your childhood or even your early adult life that you can remember where you were like, "All right, I really gotta," um you already had the foundation of life, you understood that life was gonna be a little bit of a challenge, right? But was there a specific moment where you felt that, "Okay, I gotta face some fear here and really develop some courage and confidence and go do something that maybe I didn't want to do in order to get the result that I wanted?"
yes, law school.
Huh.
Law school. And I say that because, a lot of people, um, I shouldn't say a lot of people, because to each his own.
Sure.
I would say everybody that wants to do whatever they want to do in their life, whether it's doctor, whatever profession, whatever schooling you need to do, whatever, certifications, whatever you need to get, you're passionate about it. You understand that the fear of failure is one of the greatest assets you can also. Understand I don't want to be here. Understanding I don't want this F on this test. I understanding that, you know, I'm gonna try my hardest, but it still might not be good enough for
Right.
some, and having that as an asset instead of being afraid. Like if I put myself out and I don't get it, right?
Mhm.
It was what is it? Roosevelt, right? Um, be the man in the arena.
Oh, yep, uh-huh. Yeah.
So, don't be afraid to put yourself out. And a lot of people, I think, are sometimes of the mindset, if I try my hardest, I give it my 100%, and I don't get to where I wanted to get, they're afraid, oh, like I failed.
I
Um,
failed. And then that
fa-
sets a precedent for their entire
then they're,
life.
but sometimes it's like, okay, if I don't give it 100% and I just give it 85 and I land where I land, the security blanket of, if I tried 100%, I could probably get there. But they don't want to give it the 100%. Like
Mhm. They're comfortable.
you don't want to fail, so you don't go
You
all
don't
the
go all the
way.
way, you don't lean all the way in.
Yeah, and they become complacent in some sort of wherever, whatever industry.
Yeah. Or maybe even in their own lives. Maybe it's just the fear of having a conversation with a significant other,
Yeah,
that's been avoiding the conversation, and you gotta rip the Band-Aid off and say, "Hey, listen, we gotta talk about this." And
right.
just even something as small, but yet as big as that. It's so crazy to me, Mufi, because it's like, knowing you from high school in Churchill and and our junior high school for people that don't know what Churchill is, right? And just seeing your transformation to now, it's so interesting to me, because we shared a lot of similar struggles in terms of like, we like sports, but we weren't athletically there to
Yeah, yeah,
be
yeah.
competing at a high level. But we both never gave up on things, right? We realized that, it was okay to fail, and failure is going to be a part of life. I think very early on because of those earlier failures, which then led to you saying, "Hey, you know what? I want to become a lawyer. I want to do something great with my life." And I think that was, to me, from knowing you, just saying it out loud is like, I always felt that was something inside of you. Like there was always something special about you every time we
I
interacted.
appreciate
You have
that.
incredible charisma. You make people laugh. And I think, I think that, being like me, the nice guy a lot of times, at times too was a defense mechanism, right? Because it's like,
Yeah.
well, I don't really want to talk about what's really going on in my real feelings. I want to be better. I want to do something great. I want to make an impact. And what you just said about people, right? Like I think there's three levels. There's people that are the victims that they have a failure happen, and then that defines them for the rest of their life. Then you have people that are like more just comfortable. They're like, listen, well, like you said, I don't want to risk failure. So I'll go close enough to my 100%, but I know that if I push it too far, I take a little too much risk and I'll land where I land. And you know what? That'll be just fine for me. And
Just
then you have people like you, me, the Kobe's, the Rocks of the world,
yep,
and the Sharif Khans, if you
yep.
will, and hopefully I'm saying his name right, that just kept going and weren't worried about failing. And even when the people around them may have been telling them that this isn't a good idea, you shouldn't be doing this. You know, when did you first decide I wanted to go into law? And then what was, the reaction from family and colleagues around you?
So before I get into that, I wanted to say one thing that, what you just said reminded me of was, um, I don't know if you watch Shark Tank at all. That show with Mark Cuban. One of the good quotes that I always, it comes to mind, it immediately popped in my mind when you were saying that was, you don't know what success is if you haven't received failure. Because there's a reason there's two different definitions. If you don't know failure, you won't know success. And the second thing is you have to be right one time, right? You have this entire life. You have so many years, how many ever years, you got to be right. The other, how many times, let's say 100, you got to be right one time to make it, right? Whatever, however big.
Yeah,
That's
make it in whatever that means in your own life.
right. Whether you're making 100 million a year or you're making 10,000 a year, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
That's
and that
not,
success might not even be financial.
doesn't have to be, right? The
Right.
only reason that these guys that we're talking about are so notable is because they didn't chase the money, right? They didn't chase um this type of success. They chased excellence. They chased excellence and success followed.
I
So
always say, which I get from Jim Rohn and also my
mhm,
mentor, Sandy Sarami, make a difference and the dollars always follow. So
absolutely.
you have to seek to make a difference if you want the byproduct of the financial success, right? But you have to genuinely want to make a difference in other people's lives. And I think the more people that you can impact, the more abundance you're going to have in every arena of your life.
I mean, we were just talking about Mark Cuban. He was selling trash bags. He was selling trash bags. He was living in an apartment at Indiana with 6 other people living in a living room. And Mark Cuban right now doesn't have to worry about any money or any success because he's got it all. But the wisdom and the knowledge that, you know, he has gained from those moments, whether they're moments of failure or defeat or just, a learning experience.
Right.
Um, that I think is very valuable. And you have to be right once. So you
Yeah.
can have 10 different products. 9 of them fail. You need one product to make it,
hmm
and you
I
get that
think
one product.
what was it? Thomas Edison's thousandth attempt was the light bulb.
Because you don't remember all of the 99 times. You
No,
remember
and
the
nobody else
999
does.
times.
And nobody else does, and nobody sees that. And a lot of
No one
times
cares.
people stop because if they're not getting the recognition for their efforts, they feel like, people aren't paying attention. I'm not really doing a great job. That would be like me having this podcast, Mufi, and counting all of my views and being like, I'm not getting enough views. I should just stop.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, I could have one person get tremendous value from, let's say, our episode. And to me,
Uh-huh.
that's a win because
That's
that
a
means
win.
that someone got
One person
value
to
that
impact.
may have changed their life. So again, I'm very much in the mindset like you are of quality over qualitative over quantity. So
Yes. I'm sorry. I completely didn't answer your question. What
No,
was your
we
question?
can go back. It's okay, man. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
a conversation. We went down a little rabbit hole, and I like doing
yeah.
that when it's important.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of things when you say things, remind me of other things I've heard. So
Perfect. Yeah, no, all I asked you before, which I'm glad that we still got down this rabbit hole though, which was how did you get into law? But before I ask that, I want to ask a more general question of how important to you has has a mentor potentially been, or how important do you think it is for somebody to have a coach or mentor in their lives if they're struggling?
um, so earlier on, which is this actually a great point and a great transition into what I was about to talk to you about, anyways, was a mentor and a coach, or even someone just a role model that you're looking up to in whatever aspect. I think it's crucial to have someone, something, some story, um, to look up to look forward to, kind of expanding your horizons. What is your it? What is your why are you what is driving? Who is driving? What do you want to be like? Who do you
What
want
do
to
you
be?
want to become?
Right. And I think so. Perfect transition into your answer to your question. I wanted to be a professional basketball first. That was my first goal. Um, that what was not going to happen, and I had to face that reality. But I still kept thinking I was gonna be. You could not convince me I wasn't gonna, make it to the NBA, right? But sure, I'm obviously not in the NBA. Was that a failure? Yes, it was. But for me, it was I pushed myself to be the best I could be, and then injuries and whatever else happened, and you know, I didn't even make it to a D1 school to play basketball in a college level. That's okay. That was a failure. I didn't get it right. I didn't get it right once. Um, so in sixth grade, one of my uncles from India, who is a renowned and an awesome human being first, and an excellent attorney in India. He's in the Who's the Who book. Um, in Asia, he's won numerous awards for high profile cases, you know, how he litigates them. And he came to visit his daughter in college here and stopped by our one bedroom apartment when I was in sixth grade, Hammershow. Um, and I just, you know, heard him speak, and the command that he had. The If you look at that man, you will not be able to tell that this guy is such powerful human being and such a fierce litigator. Um, where he's just like very soft spoken. He's not like gung ho like
Yeah,
wow.
over the top in your face. No, it's not his way.
Just a very nice man, so compassionate, so kind, has a good head on his shoulders, family first, and he's a partner at his firm. He owns his firm in India, and he does some of the most high profile cases, and I wouldn't even say in just India, all of Asia. He's in the who's
Or
who in all of Asia. That's something. Like Mark Cuban's the who's in the book.
yeah,
So
of course.
he came and he was talking to my dad, and I was a sixth grade kid. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I was like, I'm gonna be a professional athlete one day, or be a wrestler, because I was so involved with the WWF at that time. And I just heard the command that he had over his language, and the respect that he just commanded by his presence, because of who he was and how he carried himself, and everything he spoke was coming out from a place of him being well read, or knowledge, or wisdom. And it's these people exist, and it's like, again, it comes back to they're all humans. Everybody here is a human being. And he wasn't built to be this lawyer. And that's at that time I was like, okay, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a lawyer. And I was like, I don't know what a lawyer does.
Right.
Like I know lawyers, like I know
Yeah,
doctors.
sure. Yeah. In
I
my
know.
sixth
I
grade
was like,
brain,
okay,
I know what a lawyer is.
So I started taking like those little elective classes here and there, the law and you with Mr. Brown. I still remember it.
Oh, Mr. Brown, his suit
The
every day,
suspender and like
always G'd up, cufflinks. I love it.
cufflinks
Continue. I'm sorry.
and
I was the best.
he was the best. And he also him. Like there were so many excellent teachers growing up, but even him, he just at least for me, he commanded my respect
Me
by his
too.
presence.
His
Just
presence and the way, like, think about his consistency of how he appeared every day. Like,
every
you went
day.
to high school in a suit every single day to teach law, to teach American history. I had him as American history.
Dude,
And he was
and
just
oh
profound when he spoke, and he
yeah,
didn't
and
take any shit.
he did not take any shit. And that was the thing. Like his tests were some of I went to honors, I went to AP class, I did all of that. His tests were some of the hardest tests I have ever taken. And it was just an elective. So I still studied for it. But I had like an AP test the next day. I got to study for that way more. Um, and but his tests were hard, hard tests, and there was no give. Like either you got the answer right or you got it wrong.
Uh,
And there was no like partial credit. Can I come after school? And those things might not be the best way to teach or learn, but for me, it worked.
right.
And so I think a combination of just being around that lawyer, being around my uncle in India in sixth grade, kind of opened that door for me to think about the profession of law. And what is a what
I
kind
think it Yeah, and I think also, not to cut you off with the because I wanna hear obviously more about this, and we're gonna get into this a little deeper, but, like, you mentioned who these people are. They weren't
yeah,
just lawyers, right? Like, think about how they carried themselves, their character, their compassion, their confidence, and for somebody like you who's a hardworking individual, you saw that and you didn't shy away from it, you just said, "I wanna be like that. How do I be like that?" You know?
um,
And law, it sounds like kind of brought you down that path more, and
yeah,
cultivating those raw skills and abilities you've always had.
yeah. I mean, the thing is that opened the door for me to think about law. So the law part one was one elective, and then there was a part two. Obviously, the prerequisite was you had to pass law part one with C or better. Um, but my goal was I was like, if I'm actually going to think about doing this, let me give it my all in this elective. Let me see how much, like, what do I have and what can I do? So I gave it my all. Ended out with an A, which I was very happy about. And then went until I could have just been like, you know what? I got my A, I'm out. But I took part two, and I think got an A my answer, whatever it was after. But still, for me, it was giving it my 100% C. Do I really like this? Do I really want to be this way? Um, do I really want to be a lawyer? All of that. And that kind of, you know,
Is
that
that
was
what
just,
is that what clicked it for you? Is that what's kind of sparked it? So, like, when
yep.
you graduated high school, you already had kind of a baseline knowledge from your electives and you already knew, "I'm going."
Oh, in high school, a- I had a plan. I had a plan after graduation. I had a plan. This is how I was going to go. This is how I was going to tackle things. This is the major I was going to do. Um, you know, what kind of law I want to be in. I had a plan. And then of course things, changed in college. And I was like, oh, maybe, what about being a professor of law? Because that sounds like a good idea. And then, but start to go to law school, and then in order to be a professor of law, you have to, at some point, be alert, at least, for a year or two at least, and then you have to go get your LLM, and then be a good teacher. For me, personally, I realized that patience with me was thin. So I don't think I wouldn't do the profession of being a professor,
An educator, yeah.
an educator. I would be doing them a disservice because I don't have the patience to teach. I just like, oh, you got the
But
answer.
you're humble and have enough humility to say that, and not be like, "Yeah, no, I'm gonna shove my ideas down people's throats, even though I'm not a good educator," like, per se.
Yeah, my wife is an excellent teacher. Yeah, she's an excellent teacher. She used to teach English in high school. And yeah, I hear stories from her friends, and just the way that she also uh, you know, carried herself in school, understood in order for her to teach what skills she needs to have, understanding what is the best method. And it might not be for every year. Classes change, people are different, and, different personalities.
Technology changes the way people learn.
And even to this day, she'll run into a student here or there, at a salon or grocery store, and she'll be like, oh, you were my favorite, because she opened herself up to be the best teacher she could be. She gave it her all. And she was like, I'm going to live with the results because here it is. I'm putting myself out there. I'm going to enter the arena.
Right. So
And
we know that the education piece is just not something. Who knows? You might change your mind one day, and one day maybe you'll do
every
it,
day,
but we'll see. But I'm curious, early on in the learning to decide, what field of law you wanted to go in, and as you were in college, you had this plan. Where did the plan at times maybe go wrong, potentially? And then also, what were some of the biggest challenges that you had to face while learning and moving into actually practicing law? And then ultimately, how'd you overcome them?
so, I mean, for me, the first part of that question is, of course, things changed in college. I thought college for me, with my degree, I majored in poli-sci at Rutgers. For me, it was very easy. So I didn't really face any challenges there. But I was
Okay.
seeing my other friends, like, nursing degree and business degree, and they were, working really hard. And I was just like, okay, well, this is easy. Really easy for me because I got to write one paper for a midterm and one paper for a final, and the paper is about what you read and explain your position and be persuasive in it. I mean, I wouldn't even say that made me a better writer. I was just this is how I was writing at that time, and it was good for me. College. I went through college in and out. I thought the law with Mr. Brown was more challenging than any class I took. But then law school was very challenging. And what happens is, if you're into the profession of law, or if the viewers here, anybody that wants to enter law school, of course, reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to be a mentor, or just discuss avenues that they're thinking about going down. What law school is, do they want to do it? What does it mean? But the first year of law school is the hardest year. And this is not my opinion. This is just a fact. The first year of law school is supposed to be the most rigorous because it's a set curriculum across the country. You take contracts, you take torts, you take criminal procedure, you take criminal law, you take civil procedure. You take these classes that you have, the mandatory classes. You don't design your schedule. You just this is what you're supposed to do, and everyone there is ranked, and the bottom third gets cut. That's it. So if there's the kids, the last 33, even if they all got B's, which is very good in law school. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think it sounds like that level is designed to weed people out, right?
exactly. Yeah. And then each year it's the same way. So, how and then after that, you just graduated law school and you're very happy. You have your JD, and then you gotta go and study for the bar. You gotta take the bar exam. How do you go from, yay, law school's finished, I made it, excellent, got my JD. Now I have to be a lawyer. I have to go
I
and
have to do it.
how do I get my certification? Right? I
Mhm.
have the degree, but law firms aren't going to hand out a job to someone who just has a JD and they're not practicing attorney yet. They're not
Sure.
licensed in that state. So you have to, and that is a whole nother challenge. We'll get into that. So
All
I would
these
say
layers.
my first year of law school was the most challenging. That's when I figured out, oh, I'm in the right profession, but I'm gonna give it everything. So I remember a distinct thing that immediately comes to mind for me is when we were graduating law school, and then my parents came and I showed them where, my law school where I used to study. This is the library. This is always where I sat. The security guard from the law school came to my parents and he goes, "Is that your son?" Well, my dad was like, "Yeah, that's my son." He goes, "That kid is the most hardworking kid I've ever met in the history of, him being there as a security guard. He was the first one to enter the library in the morning and the last person."
Last one to leave.
And that wasn't just because I wanted to put my timestamps. No, I was there. I didn't want to go home. Nothing mattered. No dating, nothing mattered. The only thing that mattered to me was I wanted 5 letters after my name. I wanted JD first, and then I wanted ESQ. And that's all that mattered to me. That's it. I gave it 100%. And if I failed, at least I could go to bed at night. Okay, this one I also got wrong. Let's try the next. But I gave it my 100%. I never went to bed saying I didn't give it my all.
Do you think that was it's just something, because like it's a constant theme in your life, right? About giving it your all. Do you think that is something that people have to build in themselves, or you're just naturally born with it based on your environment, your demographic, and what you grow up around? What do you think? Did that
I think it
develop for you?
goes I think it goes to um back to what we were talking about, how important it is to have a mentor or a
Wow.
coach or a role model. I think that's what it goes to. It's all about who you're looking to become and who you're looking as your mentor, right? Like, for me, my mentor was Kobe, you know. My role
Yeah.
model was Kobe, and he
Yeah.
had this Mamba mentality. And understood at that time in my life, I understood Mamba mentality of being whatever is in front of you, tackle it to the best of your ability. Give it your absolute all, and then you live with the results. Um, and that's not to say that, Michael Jordan had a different mentality. Ron James has a different mentality. All these people have different mentalities. It's working for them, right?
Sure.
But for me, it was Kobe, Kobe Bryant. And, he excelled in his craft. And he said, it's not about just basketball. You can apply it in your everyday life. You can be the best lawyer you want to be, the best husband, the best father, the best, whatever you want to do, you can do it. If, you adopt this mindset. And that's what it comes down to. I think you can absolutely have, you know, um, give it your all mentality if you want to. If want to be in the middle pack, that's fine too. Because like I said, like we need the middle pack too.
Oh,
We,
yeah. We need people at every level.
yeah, if we don't have the middle pack, the top doesn't exist either. It's not the
Sure.
top.
Sure. And then a lot of, business, minds out there always say, and you may hear this even in law, like there are people that silently want to quote unquote be led, right? They're okay with being in that kind of position and aspiring or being inspired by somebody, but being that right hand person. Like we need all these different types of people for sure. Um, I'm curious, Mufi, what is what exactly is a super lawyer? Because you are a super lawyer and you're wanted by insurance firms around the world. Talk to me a little bit about, like, you went to law school, you got your degrees, you got your letters after your name, right? And then you had to start practicing law. So what was it like to practice law? And then how did you become a super lawyer? Like from that, how did that transition?
Well, thank you. For thanks for introducing me as a super lawyer. Essentially, um, so went through law school, then took the bar. Thankfully, again, gave you my 100% for everything. Passed it on the first try, thankfully, both New York and New Jersey, and then started practicing the practice of law. The first year has nothing to do with what you learned in law. Law school teaches you how to take tests, I believe. Um, and then studying for the bar also makes you learn how to take that test. And then you are, quote unquote, a lawyer. And then you come out, and the practice of law is very different than what law school teaches you. You have a background, you understand a lot of things. You understand how to read it, certain documents. what a pleading is and jurisdiction this, whatever, all these different legal jargon. Um, the first year of practice is, scary. Because you're really you're out there, you're a lawyer, and whatever firm or company you end up at, they have a way of practicing their legal department or the firm itself. They have a specific way. So the challenges that you face in law school are different than the challenges that you will face after the law firm at a law firm. Super lawyer, you are voted on, by your peers, other colleagues. It goes to a committee that executes these awards, and only I believe it's 2.5% get that recognition.
Incredible,
So,
man.
you know,
Congratulations.
thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was very excited. My last year was my first year, and I got it on my first try. You don't apply for it.
Wow, man. Kudos to you. That's huge.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. I was very excited. Woke up in the morning one day, I looked at an email and it said, "No, congratulations, you're not." I looked at my wife and I was like, "All right, cool. Got super lawyers. Gotta go to work." And she was
Yeah,
like,
now I gotta go to work. All right, cool. Awesome. Keep going.
"Yeah." She was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, um, gotta keep it going. Uh, you know, one time I got it right. One time, great. I'd like to keep getting it right." And then again this year, I got it as well. So I'm very happy about that. Thankful to
Incredible.
the community. Um, but no, it's not done. The job's not finished. Like Kobe Bryant
Right.
said, "Job's finished. Job's not finished."
No, job's never finished. I totally get that, right? But also at the same time, I learned a concept called the gap in the gain from a guy named Dan Sullivan. He wrote a book called 10x is easier than 2x. And what he talks about is the gap of looking at everything that happened in your past as like this thing that happened of where I should be, what I could have been, trying to live up to an ideal. And if I don't reach that ideal, I'm a failure compared to the gain mindset, which is everything I've done has been big leaps and bounds in my life to get me to where I am. I'm in the gain. Like I am where I am today because that's where I've positioned myself to be and who I want to become. So, it's the reason I bring that up is to me, you are very much in the gain, my friend. You never gave up. You
Right.
kept going. You kept pushing yourself. And you look at a super lawyer and you're kind of like, all right, well, there's still work to be done. But I do want to bring that up because I want to remind you, like, please relish in that because a little bit. It might be hard for you,
Yeah.
but
Of course.
do it because you earned it, man. And I think that so many people out there who might listen to this episode are going to say, like, wow, like, the constant theme with Mufi is that he just never gave up and he kept working hard and putting in the time. And just like in sales, right? Learning about sales is one thing, but the verb selling is another thing.
Oh,
And when
yep.
you actually have to go and do the thing, that's the only way you learn and become great at it. And then on top of that, practice, drill, rehearse, and actually lean in to getting better is the only way you reach a super sales, let's just say, like compared to super
We
lawyer.
recognize. Of
But
course.
it's the same thing. So if you had to give a piece of advice to anybody, Mufi, that was looking to become a lawyer in the future, what's one thing that they absolutely need to understand in order to be successful in law?
That's a very good question. Um, in the profession of law, I would say in order to be successful, um, just keep going. 3 words. Just keep going. Um, you're gonna depending on the firm, you're gonna get your ass handed to you. It's gonna be chewed up in court sometimes. Depending on the judge, he'll call you out on things. If you're not ready, you're not prepared, you're gonna get it. So I would say just keep going. And by what I mean by those 3 words is always be prepared. Always be yours. Don't sell yourself, quote unquote. Don't do any of that. Be you, where you are. Make sure that that inside doesn't change. Be you. Be original. Um, stay true to yourself. You don't have to change for anybody to like you. The profession of law is not, you know, I would say for the people who want to always be liked by everybody. Because you're never making it. You're
No,
never.
that's not realistic. You're not gonna be liked by everyone.
It's an adversarial profession. We're always going up against other counsel, other lawyers. You know? I would say in that, just keep going. Be respectful. Be kind. I think those things go a long way, and they're always thrown around. How are you going to be a fierce litigator? You're kind, or you're allowing these courtesies. No, people remember. I'm saying that the profession of law, it's already a small world, and then the profession of law, you have come into this little industry. And now you're in this New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, the tri-state area bubble. It's even smaller. The world gets smaller and smaller, and everyone remembers that. So if you just keep going, be yourself, be respectful, be original, be prepared. I really, really would suggest any young lawyer, or any aspiring lawyer, just be prepared. You can never be over prepared. If it's whether you're arguing a motion or doing a deposition or just writing a letter, be prepared. Whatever that means in that term, or whether it's a case related or even an assignment.
Yeah, absolutely, Mufi. And it's crazy because everything that you just said really can apply to anybody who is looking to overcome challenges in their own lives. And they're all fundamental pieces, whether you're going to be a lawyer, you're going into business to be in sales, you're looking to become a professional basketball player. They're all fundamental keys. And a lot of them at times sound cliche, but they only sound cliche to people that haven't actually tried to practice them yet or actually put in that effort. And I think that a lot of times, like for me at least, like I had to really understand who I wanted to become and my why, and more importantly, who do I want to serve, right? Because I'm sure that in your profession, Mufi, would you say that you enjoy serving the group of people that you do serve, like in terms of the end result you're looking to help them achieve?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I love what I do.
Great.
Obviously there's good days, there's bad days, but that's any profession. Whether you're a movie star, or athlete, or
Sure.
engineer, salesperson, running your own business, it doesn't matter. There's good days and bad days, and there always will be. Um, it's just, loving what you do makes things a little easier. That I realize that, again, that's a cliche. You really love what you do. You never work a day, love that kind of thing. Um, but it's good. Just I love serving clients. They have very specific demands sometimes and requests, and we want it to be this way and that way. But they're the ones who we are serving. We have a job because they are allowing us to serve them.
Amen to
Um,
that. Yeah.
and that's why that's what we have to do. We have to keep them happy, and we have to give them our advice, our legal advice. That's why we're called counsel. And all we're doing, we're giving professional advice.
Well, it's no, and
Whether
it's
a letter or whatever.
Mhm. It's no I just find so many parallels between what you do and how we help in our business at Sandy Sarami and Associates help selling professional. It's
Right.
like you're literally guiding people. You're not selling people, you're guiding people to help them make the best decision possible for them. That is literally our motto, and that's what we teach, whenever we work with selling pros is you're there to guide them and answer any questions that they have or gather any information that's going to help them make that best decision possible for them, right? So many people get hung up on the close and the end result, and it's really more about, the end result for the people you serve. And then that difference, like we talked about, becomes the byproduct in terms of abundance in your own life. Um,
Yep.
Mufi, as we close out here, number one, I want to say thank you. You've been so gracious with your time. If anybody wanted to contact you for law, how would they get in touch with you?
If it was to me directly, you can visit our the firm website, or you can just Google my name.
Okay.
It's a long,
Yeah.
but you
I'll
Google my
include it
name.
in the notes.
Absolutely, you can Google my name, and you'll find the firm I work for. You can email me, you can call me. You know, I'm always available. And I always reply. I always will, respond. Whether that's an aspiring lawyer, whether that's already someone who's already a lawyer, or just somewhere in a different field that maybe looking to lateral transition, or just maybe want to pick my brain. About how
Yeah.
did I, or what is it about law that made me want to do this, or why did I get into the insurance industry,
Yeah.
um, whatever
Why
that
did
is.
why did you real quick?
Yeah. Oh, the insurance industry.
Yeah, why specifically?
I always wanted. I would, one of my favorite classes in law school was contracts. I loved uh the clauses and the specificity, and what each contract, how much power a document, a legally binding document has. And,
Right.
everybody has insurance, whether that's your car insurance or your homeowners or renters or even companies, obviously, you're building projects. So there's insurance on every, and, insurance is an industry that I thought is never going to go away. It's never going to die. It's not, yeah, it's just not going to get stale. And, now you did it for 10 years and now insurance industry doesn't exist anymore. It's going to
Right.
always be. So
You'll have
having
longevity.
the knowledge, yeah, having the knowledge of insurance policies, and how each policy and each clause works, and how it's different from each state, and each state's law and
Right.
court interprets policies differently. Sometimes, how can we advise our clients, don't write it this way, maybe write it this way to avoid this type of litigation, right? Or these costs, or, write it this way. So, whatever it is that, you're trying to incorporate or exclude is clear to the reader. Or make it more clear sometimes. Just like, don't use that much legal jargon. And, there's just a lot, again, all about counsel, about professional advice. And
Sure.
I just feel that the insurance industry, is never going away. I loved contracts, and we deal with insurance policies
Right.
all day long. And
Yeah.
those are legally binding contracts. And how each clause, kind of um, manages a certain relationship versus how it excludes a certain type of coverage, and what does
So
that mean?
interesting.
And it's just, like, how does that entire mechanism work?
Right.
You may have coverage. You may think you have coverage, and then, you just sign the document because you signed the document, but there's an endorsement at the end of the thing that is excluding
Huh.
coverage. And now you
So
can be like, we said there was coverage, but there's a document at the end that says there's an endorsement that's excluding coverage. And even if it's excluding coverage, what part can still be included? And then, now lawyers are arguing with each other, and kind of determining, um, how can we amicably resolve this? Can we have a cost-effective strategy, um, of, you know, meeting of the minds, or are we not? Are we going to, litigation? Are we,
right.
we are on completely different wavelengths. We are on completely different sides. You want 20 million to resolve this case. We're at 100,000. We're not coming anywhere close.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, you know, um,
It's
it's just
pretty interesting to see you in your mind. You're like, okay, in my opinion, somebody that looks for solutions and tries to help. You're like, how do we bridge the gap? Or you know what? Like, I'm telling you right out of the gate that I'm somebody that wants to bridge the gap, but I can't even in this situation because what
yeah,
you're asking for and what the reality is are two totally different things. And it's a whole nother separate side conversation you and I could have offline, even, and I'm so happy that we've reignited our relationship for a
absolutely.
multitude of reasons. But it's like, everybody out there, when you get an update on your phone, are you reading that? Like, do you
Yeah,
read your contracts? Do you read what you're actually signing? And I feel like so many people just brush through it and they don't do that. So
yeah.
that's a
Because the
whole
thing is,
lesson
like,
that people could take away.
yeah, I would say, like, probably 7 to 8 times out of 10, right? Sign the contract. You go, I've done it. I'm a lawyer. I can, I'm
Yeah,
not
we've all
reading
done it.
every contract. No, that's not happening. And 7 to 8 times out of 10, usually you're fine. Nothing happens. But insurance is betting on the fact that something will or will not happen, right? That's
Right.
what you're betting. Life insurance.
Mm.
homeowners, someone falls in your house, they go, okay, I got all these injuries.
You're paying for the
I'm going to see
possibility
you.
of needing the coverage.
Right. What is life insurance? Why? You want to take care of the people that you love after you're gone. And
Sure.
essentially, you're paying that premium saying, I'm going to live another day. And the insurance industry saying, no, you won't.
Yeah.
And that's the give and take. Every year you're saying, here's my premium. I think I'm going to do it again this whole year, another year of my life. And, the younger you are, the better your premium because, the
Of course, you're
longevity of
healthier. Yeah, they're
your
betting
old
that. All right,
versus,
you're gonna live till tomorrow.
yeah.
More
Then,
than likely, you got this.
and you're 10 years old. Yeah, you're going to
Yeah,
be okay.
no problem.
35, a little different. 70, different. 80,
Yeah.
way different. Your premiums are higher because they understand the insurance companies like, okay, well, no one has lived to 700. So, we're going to bet.
Yeah. All right, cool. I'm in. I'm playing this hand. That's so crazy.
Exactly.
Mufi, again, thank you so much for your time today. I do have just some final questions for you
Sure, of course.
as we close out
Thanks for
here.
having
Number
me.
one, what's that?
Thanks for having me, man. Of course.
Oh, my
It was my
pleasure.
pleasure.
This has been great.
Great.
I've learned so much from about you now in our older years, and then also just in general from you. So I thank you because I'm always open minded to learning new things. So thank you for that. What's one thing that you do today that you feel your younger self would not believe?
Huh. I would say, what do I do today? Yep, yourself would not. You mean that in terms of like characteristics?
Anything,
Do
whatever
in
you
professional
yeah,
or like my everyday routine?
whatever you think about. Yeah, what's something that you do today, like that your younger self wouldn't believe? Like, maybe an accomplishment that you wouldn't have believed you've been, even if it's just being a lawyer. Like, you would have never
That's
thought
what
you'd be in law.
that's immediate. Yeah, I just immediately went back to that. Because my greatest accomplishment, um, he so far has been, in my profession of law, I would say still to all of this, I would say passing the bar in the first try.
Incredible,
If,
incredible.
if you told sixth grade Mufi that, keep working, keep doing this, just keep going. And in the profession of law, go to law school, do all these things, you'll pass the bar on the first try. I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, right. So
Uh,
funny.
I stayed back
So,
in fourth grade.
so that brings me to my follow up question to that, which is, and you might have just answered it. If you had that magic cell phone and you could speak to sixth grade Mufi,
Mhm.
what's the one piece of advice you would give him? I think I know, but
Um, I would say I mean, just keep going. I know it sounds repetitive, but I would say,
nope.
just keep going and
Cool.
be prepared. And because there's a lot of times, and I found, when I was in, the debate club or, even during, mock trials and stuff like that, sometimes I would, kind of get complacent and be like, yeah, I got it. I know how to do it. And then I go and I underestimated, the opposition or the opposing
Or
argument, the strength of that argument. I underestimated. And then I had to be, on the fly. I had to figure out, okay, how am I supposed to navigate around this argument? How can I, defeat this, um, this issue that I'm having?
right.
And so yeah, what I would tell my younger self is, just keep going and be prepared, man. And there were times where I wasn't. But
Sure.
now I can tell you that there's never going to be a time, at least it's in my control, that if I have to appear somewhere or do a deposition or motion argument, be in court or anything, I will always be.
I love that. Just always show up, and then also never assume. It's, if you assume things on other people, or you think that you're gonna just, it's gonna be a done deal. Like even in boxing, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna crush this guy in a sparring session. You just
Yeah,
never know what somebody else knows or what their why is or anything like
yeah.
that.
And
So it's like a great piece of advice for the audience. So thank you.
don't judge and don't judge, what someone looks like or what
Oh
someone's
God.
wearing. It has nothing to do with what's going on up here, what they have here, who they are as a person, even.
Right.
Um, you know, Like you mentioned boxing, so that's why you bring up like Tyson Fury. You look at him, you're like, there's no way he's gonna defeat this guy. No,
Yeah. Until you
that's
see him
fine.
in person, you realize he's 6'8", 260 pounds. He's a monster.
He's a
Uh,
monster. But like you look at like the physique of a
no,
boxer,
yeah,
you look at the
he's not
magnificence.
muscular and strong like when he fought
Like yeah,
Deontay was. Yeah.
yeah, like
Well, that's a lot of people get messed up with that.
uh
Think
yeah, like
muscle
Iron
means they can
Man.
fight. Fighting means you can
Yeah,
fight.
fighting means you can fight. Like having muscle doesn't have having muscle means you went to the gym a lot and ate extra protein. That's what it was. It's, you know, John Cena had massive muscles. The Rock has massive muscles. That doesn't mean of course they were in the the entertainment world of wrestling. It's not
Sure.
actual
Sure. Sure.
fighting, but they were
Mhm.
entertaining.
Mhm.
And they made you believe that this is what it takes, is what you gotta look like. And they made you believe they did their job. They entertained. They made a story believable. Um,
I think
and
it just circles back, Mufi, to everything we talked about today, which is just believing in yourself and being the best possible version that you can be. And although that sounds cliche, it comes from the hard work, knowing who you want to become and just going after that every single day. So I really thank you for the messaging, for being vulnerable, sharing your story,
of
looking
course,
to inspire other people out there. That's what we like to do with this channel. This has been another great episode of Great American Underdog. Mufi, as we close out, any final thoughts?
yeah. First to all the viewers here, Ron has done an excellent job. Becoming the man he is today professionally. I wish him and this podcast the best of luck to all the viewers. Guys, he works really hard. And the reason I wanted to be part of this podcast was we share the similar backgrounds. We come from different areas, but we share similar background of the underdog story and what it means to each other. And if I can be a coach, a mentor, a role model, or just someone to talk to, then I'm more than happy to do that. Again, reach out. I'm sure you'll put my name in the comments or in the on the channel, and feel free to reach out, email, call, whatever it is. I will absolutely respond in a timely fashion. And as we close out, I want to give a round of applause to all the viewers as well. Thank you for watching. This is it's an hour long episode. I won't keep talking anymore, but thank you for watching. Get your why, get your motivation, get it from wherever, whoever, somewhere. Like, subscribe, to Ron's channel. He's doing a wonderful job of incorporating all different people from all walks of life, and just sharing their story. And it's just to maintain relationships and educate the younger the younger generation. Keep going.
Sure.
Just
Yeah, man, absolutely.
also adopt the Mamba always.
What's that?
Also adopt the Mamba mentality
Oh
always.
yeah, always, man. Mamba mentality for life, bro. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the kind words, Mufi. And at the end of the day, like you said, this is a podcast for real life underdogs, real life people sharing their stories of overcoming challenges and obstacles. And like Mufi had said, if you found value in today's episode, please make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel for future episodes, and share it with somebody who you feel can get value from this conversation as well. Once again,
Yeah.
I'm Ron Marvo. We thank you for joining us and stay tuned for the next episode of Great American Underdog. Thank you.
Thank you.